That would be great.
All right, we're rolling.
Thank All right, everyone. Again, welcome. Such a joy to be here with you today. We will be focusing on we have several videos that we wanted to share with you. We will be focusing on refugee journey, challenges of refugees in community colleges, and workforce development in particular. We will focus a little bit more on psychosocial support, cultural awareness, empathy. We will also share some strategies that are working well for us and with our clients, and then have a conversation. We'll have some questions, and we'll have a guest speaker today, which I'm really excited for you to meet. And without further ado, I would like to start with it's a 6-minute video that highlights the journey. So if you can give me heads up that thumbs up if you can hear it, that'd be great.
My name is Rashawn. I'm from Eritrea, a country in Africa. My family was forced to flee to Sudan when violence broke out during Eritrea's struggle for independence. Ultimately, our family received refugee status and resettled in the United States. So who are refugees? And how do refugees receive the rare opportunity to rebuild their lives in the U.S.? A refugee is a person who is outside his or her country and is unable or unwilling to return because of a well-founded fear of persecution. This fear may be based on race, religion, nationality, social group, and/or political opinion. Many refugees face the possibility of being killed if they don't flee. Of the millions of refugees worldwide, far less than 1% resettle in a new country. Some decide to return to their home countries, and some are able to integrate into the host countries where they initially sought refuge. But for many people, resettlement is the only option. For my family, due to the outbreak of violence, it was not possible to stay in Sudan or return home to Eritrea. The only path to safety was to resettle in a new country. The United States has historically been a leader in refugee resettlement. Each year, the U.S. President determines the annual refugee admission ceiling in consultation with Congress. The U.S. also welcomes other people fleeing persecution. These humanitarian immigrants include those granted asylum, special immigrant visa holders from Afghanistan and Iraq, and Cuban and Haitian entrants. Many organizations and agencies work together to keep the U.S. refugee admissions program safe and secure. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, referred my family for resettlement to the United States. Resettlement Support Centers, or RSCs, are run by nonprofit organizations in partnership with the U.S. government. In our RSC interviews, we explain the story of how and why we fled Eritrea. Our family was also interviewed by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS. It was their role to decide if we met the qualifications for resettlement. Throughout this process, we underwent rigorous security vetting, including screening by the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the State Department. Refugees are screened more thoroughly than any other type of entrant to the United States. From the time a refugee is first referred for resettlement, it can take many months or even years before they arrive in the U.S. After this long process, our family was determined to be eligible for resettlement. We were so happy to finally receive the chance to move to a safe home. But first, we needed to complete medical screening, receive immunizations, and attend cultural orientation. Once all overseas vetting is complete, eligible refugees are approved for travel to the U.S. in a process coordinated by the International Organization for Migration. Until this moment, many refugees don't know which new city or town they will call home. Refugees are resettled in states and communities across the U.S. Resettlement agencies are nonprofit organizations that are funded by the U.S. government and private donors to help support refugees when they reach the United States. When we arrived, resettlement agency staff met us at the airport. They brought us to our new apartment, which was prepared with basic furniture, household supplies, and food. Federal agencies coordinate with states to make resources and services available to newly arrived refugees and other humanitarian immigrants. The United States funds many initial services through the State Department. Others are funded through the Office of Refugee Resettlement within the Department of Health and Human Services. Resettlement agencies, state and county agencies, community-based organizations, schools, and healthcare providers all work together to provide these services. Local communities, businesses, and faith-based organizations also offer support, including by volunteering their time, providing donations, and helping to create a welcoming environment for their new neighbors. With help from our resettlement agency and their partners, my siblings and I enrolled in school. My parents signed up for English language classes, received work authorizations, and applied for jobs. Other refugee services include opportunities to improve economic well-being by building personal finance skills, increasing career readiness, preparing for higher education, and even launching small businesses. Refugees also participate in health and wellness programs, including support with accessing healthcare. Special services available to youth include family, academic, and mentoring activities. Elders receive additional integration supports. My parents secured employment shortly after arriving, and eventually they were able to buy a home for our family. After 1 year in the United States, refugees apply to become permanent residents. Around 5 years after arrival, they may apply to become American citizens. Refugees are your neighbors, business owners in your community, and your children's classmates. As for me, I am now a member of the switchboard team. Every day, I help improve services that enable newcomers to thrive, just like me and my family. My name is Rochelle.
All right. So again, thank you so much for your time and kind of diving into this video just to highlight the points and the journey of refugee once they flee the country of origin. Usually UNHCR files the applications and determines what is the best durable solution for every refugee family. And then they submit referrals to the United States or some other eligible countries. Now, the wait for the application being processed could be a very lengthy process. The average wait time could take up to 10 to 26 years. Refugees' family undergo a rigorous background check. And once applications are approved, refugee families must complete medical examination as well. And refugees are approved for resettlement as the next step, and they usually receive cultural orientation at that point, and being resettled in the United States. Usually families arrive, and United States resettlement agencies help them find the job, learn English, and integrate into the local community. So those are just kind of main points of what refugees usually go through. Now, to talk a little bit about who we are, International Rescue Committee. International Rescue Committee was founded at a call of Albert Einstein at 1933. IRC is now working in over 45 countries, as well as a variety of different communities throughout Africa, Middle East, Europe. We truly focus on delivering lasting impact by providing access to healthcare, helping children learn, go to school, and of course, empowering individuals to become self-sufficient and self-reliant. We always seeking to address different inequalities facing women and girls in particular. So we, of course, have many offices in the United States as well. And I would like to shift it over to Jason to dive a little bit more into the specific services that we provide at IRC. Jason, to you.
Great, thank you, Yana. A pleasure to be with everyone, and thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Jason, using pronouns he, him, his, and a pleasure to be with you this morning on on this day. So I wanted to get a little more into, as Yana gave an introduction of the International Rescue Committee, a little more about the work we do. We are an international nonprofit, so we serve in several countries throughout the whole world, 40 plus countries, areas where there are crisis and conflict. And so on the ground, we really, to break up and I guess high level of the International Rescue Committee, we're broken into two main categories, international and national work. Internationally, we respond to some of the world's worst crises, delivering aid that saves lives, and really responding within 72 hours to deliver that humanitarian aid. And then here nationally, we work in about 25 different cities throughout the United States to do and resettle refugees while placed here in the United States. Our vision really throughout the world is to help those people who go through these different tragedies and are shattered by conflict and disasters, to help them survive, recover, and one of my most favorite parts, really to gain control of their lives and control over their future, really going from surviving to thriving, as we like to put it. And so that's just a general overview of the work we do. Now getting more specific into the work we do here in Sacramento. You may wonder and maybe take some time to ponder what refugee services actually look like here in the United States, what that may include. You may be curious what that is. And so to break that down a little more for you, we wanted to explain some of those services, some of the departments that we have here at IRC Sacramento, and also the department Jan and I are included in. But to start off, really would be the first one is reception and placement. We learned from that video, as refugees are admitted into the United States, they fly in and are greeted most of the times at the airport by caseworkers, many of them working in reception and placement. And so this is a service that we provide up to 90 days, those first 3 months or so of when refugees come to the United States. We help them with the arrival pickup, going through cultural orientation, to help them if they haven't done so in their host country. We also provide housing, help them come to an apartment that's furnished or a home where they can feel safe and welcomed. And then we start to help them enroll their children in school, like it was mentioned in the video. Also, to get driver's license, bank accounts, different things that they need to be successful here in the United States. Another service we provide is safety and wellness. Those going through different, mental health or different struggles, we provide individual and group support to these individuals. This is a service that is available to any our clients, including what we'll go through in more depth a little later on is psychosocial support, the surviving services, as well as some health and wellness education classes that they can attend. Of course, now all done virtually, but these are webinars that they can learn and gain and to be able to help cope with their new surroundings while here in the United States. Another area of focus is on anti-trafficking, and this is a service that's delivered through case management, one-on-one services to provide support, and it includes all forms of human trafficking. And so here we provide temporary housing for individuals, also rent assistance, and then it also can cover food and clothing if needed for these individuals. And then finally, another part of our services, the part that Jan and I are a part of, is the employment, economic well-being, and job readiness. So here really is a big part of, and what we're passionate about today to bring to you is, really going from that surviving to thriving. A big part of that is economic well-being and really helping those individuals, especially with families, those mothers and fathers, get into employment here in the United States so that they can become self-sufficient and be able to earn an income. And so these services provide, supporting in English as a second language classes, job readiness skills that we're able to go through different trainings on, as well as assistance finding work. And so again, that's just a kind of core breakdown of the services here that the IRC provides in Sacramento. Moving to the next slide. Now, you may be curious who it is that is arriving here in Sacramento. Refugees come from all over the world, and we historically here in Sacramento have had a large population of those that originate from Afghanistan. You may have heard of the term, may have not, but an SIV is a special immigrant visa holder. So this was also alluded to in the video, but it's a specific type of refugee, specific visa that was actually created by Congress to provide permanent protection to Afghan and Iraqi affiliates who aided with the US military in a variety of different roles. They were able to apply for this visa for them and their families, and then are able to obtain that permanent protection here in the United States. And so Sacramento has just had a large history over the last several years of actually an interesting fact that Sacramento County itself has welcomed more refugees over the past 6 years than any other county in the United States. So that's really big. And take a second to ponder that. We have the most refugees here or we welcome at least the most refugees within the last few years, and many of them being from this area. Of course, I'm sure you're all familiar with the recent events that have happened in Afghanistan, and because of that, we have welcomed more. And you may all have had experiences where you may have interacted with students, colleagues, staff that have been impacted by that. We were all impacted by that, no matter who we were. But again, this is something that is very relevant and something we want to talk to furthermore and discuss today as we provide ways to work with these individuals and provide some psychosocial support as well as other services. So to get just into a little more of the numbers, and so that you can better understand, what amount this is, we wanted to review some of those facts, to understand the trends and to understand, not only what has happened in the past, but looking to the future, what we are, seeing and what we're forecasting for the future for this upcoming year and onward. And so as you can see from this, the US overall is expecting 75,000 humanitarian parolees, and just for vocab and terms. So of course there's refugees, SIVs, and then again humanitarian parolee is another term that is used, and it specifically means that these are individuals that are allowed for admission into the United States, but on a temporary basis. It's a temporary period of time for urgent humanitarian reasons, the withdrawal from Afghanistan being one of them. And so right now, and it's an ever-changing situation, but right now these individuals have a 2-year term temporary visa to be here. And hopefully, of course, we hope that that will be extended and that they can reside here permanently. And so moving forward, though, the U.S. presidential determination on refugee arrivals is 125,000 for this upcoming year. This is not including parolees, but it's what the president has decided for this upcoming fiscal year of how many refugees overall to welcome into the United States. Here locally in Sacramento, we're forecasting to resettle roughly 1,350 this upcoming year. And overall in California, expecting around 10,000 arrivals within the next 6 months. So again, we can just see how relevant this work is, and in our community, in our schools, those that you work with. It is just a very relevant topic, as these new incomers and neighbors really are a big part of our society, and that will just continue to grow. And we hope to, show that the value that they are to us and each of our lives each and every day. Just and on that topic as well of current trends, just so that you can better understand those that are now arriving, and what they are, kind of, I guess, the demographics and who really they are. And so wanted to review just that these individuals, because of course the events that had happened, they have had increased experiences in trauma and crisis. And so again, like mentioned before, we'll next be able to review some psychosocial support efforts, but these individuals are very open and willing to work with us as well. And so moving on to this best practice, as we like to call it, it's really a model that we've used in our work that we do, and I'm sure similar models or experiences that you've had as well that you've used. So we really just hope that this model can be a tool for you and your toolkit to work with these individuals. We really want to relate, because the withdrawal from Afghanistan was something that we all experienced, and it had an impact on all of us. And I'm sure there's many of you out there that have worked with either students or colleagues and had to kind of work through that process of how to work with them. Many of them came to you with questions and wanted answers. And so we hope that this is a model that can help you now and in the future to continue working with these individuals, as it's something that is very relevant and we've seen as useful as well. And so going through this is a 4-step kind of action plan. Not every experience is going to look like the 4 steps in line. It can be in a variety of different ways to go about this, but we wanted to just cover all 4 so that you are equipped and know how to go through this. Starting off, the first one with prepare. And this really is that preparation that goes into the work before coming across this experience. And that may be difficult, because we could have prepared for many things, but as we learn of the upcoming circumstances as that progress, with the withdrawal of the US and NATO forces, with that progressing, really that preparation can be taken as we learn about that. And so that can be done in a variety of different ways. And so we hope that, with preparation, that we are able to reflect internally and really be able to see what resources or what information would be useful in this circumstance, and really then to seek out and gather sources of information. This can also include seeking out different support groups, whether that's at your local college. We know of different support groups at ARC and other ones as well at your different respecting colleges. This can also be seeking out and reaching out to resettlement agencies like ourselves, and having a strong contact there, so that you can have that resource and point of contact to be able to reach out to with questions that you may have. This preparation is really key in order to then be able to move forward in responding to working with these individuals. So then the next step would be the engagement. This can look different in a variety of different circumstances, whether it is more proactive, kind of reaching out yourself, but a lot of times we're not in a role that's used in. Many times it's a reactive engagement where the students may come to us, or a question might come up that they have, and so we're wanting to make sure that we ask the right questions in this situation. And ways that we've found, or some examples that we've seen work most useful, are questions like, how can I help you today with your biggest priority? What's the next best thing you would like to do? So really asking those questions in the moment, what can be done? The circumstances that these individuals go through can be so in-depth and traumatizing, and we want to just focus on the now and really the next step that they can make, what's in their control to be able to move forward. And so an example of this that you may see in your work is, it's depending on your role and the work that you do, but if working in a classroom, may notice a student that's more reserved, and after some time, or when an event has happened, and pulling them aside to ask these questions, or to support them, or to recognize that and really be able to lend that support in that moment. And then the next step would be our third step of listening. This is active listening, and this is really one of the most, if not the most important, as we really want to create that calm and comfortable place for them to respond, so that we can be able to gather the right information from them, of knowing how we can then help them. Listening is really the most important. We want to validate and normalize the situation of what they're going through, really be compassionate and respond empathetically. We really want to make sure that they feel comfortable and calm as with the events going on that may be very distressful for them. And so this can really just be a moment to respond in a way that's very endearing. An example of this could be something that you could say in this moment is, this is a really difficult time, and it makes sense you would feel this like this. That's just a simple phrase that you could respond with after you've actively listened, and showing that you're validating and empathizing with them. Finally, the last step would be that of linking. Again, this is also an important step in this, in that we want to provide those resources that we've prepared in the past, so that they then can be able to have something tangible or an action step that they can take, so that they can gather the information that they need. Linking them with different social supports and information that they can utilize to gain the information that they're seeking. And so it's linking them with those support groups in your colleges. It's linking them with the resettlement agencies in the community. And really, that's done through that preparation. But this is really the action step that's needed here. And so we hope that this model is something that you can use in your work. And and we kind of wanted to now open that up to examples and discussion. Yana kind of will go into some examples, but we hope that you can reflect on whether it's this model or another model similar to this of experiences that you've had. And so we'd love to hear from you as well as Yana takes it from here.
Thank you so much, Jason. And yes, while I go through some potential prompts and facts that we do have to keep in mind while we are working with the refugee population, the question is, what experiences do you have in using this or similar model? Potentially, what barriers are you seeing? What you found that worked in your line of work to help refugees overcome those barriers, to open up, to become successful, and so forth. So we would like to invite you to write in the chat, or if you feel comfortable taking yourself off mute, that would be great as well. We do we do want to make sure that we are having an open mind, first and foremost, to understand those cultural intricacies, family dynamics, social interaction norms, and even acceptable etiquette of the refugee population that you are working with. What's important for us as community partners to keep in mind that majority of refugees that are coming to the United States come from collective cultures, which means quite often meeting social expectations valued more than independence. So in Los Rios context, it might look like students will imply what they really mean, but might say otherwise to simply avoid embarrassment or conflict. For example, it did happen quite a bit during the escalation of events in Afghanistan. We know several students were failing their classes and not asking for support simply because of the fact that they want to avoid embarrassment. Another really important component is that majority of refugees that are coming to the United States come from patriarchal societies in which men hold primary power and usually predominate in roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, quite often control of family finances, and responsible for decision-making processes in the families. A good example would be we are aware of many female clients not able or not allowed to go to school in their home countries or get a profession. Quite often they are expected to follow traditional gender norms, not allowed to drive, and so forth. So again, in Los Rios context, and this is what we are noticing, you might see spouses and fathers joining online classes with their wives and daughters. Quite often you might hear a family members in the background answering the questions that you are asking your students. That is definitely something that we observe on our side. Another important aspect that I would like for you to kind of start thinking about is we versus me culture. We usually welcome very large families and there are multiple generations living together. So again, in Los Rios context, you might be observing mutual decision-making process. You might see family preferences for a specific career path just because that's what the family elderly think is an appropriate career path. You will also, and I know you are noticing female clients having a lot more commitments that simply limit their professional education time and time for professional development. We know that some faculty members shared with us that during the class, students might be taking tests together or plagiarizing. So we want to make sure that we recognize those cultural intricacies while we are working with students. And by utilizing that model that Jason dove into, that is really helpful in our line of work, we want to make sure that we first operate from the place of empathy, that we provide safe space and ask them, well, how we can best support you. And what worked really well with us, and I know there are a lot of those facts also took place at Los Rios, for example, listening sessions, support groups. We have support groups that are designed specifically for female clients only. We also know that faculty members do encourage students connections through college clubs. Just you know, few other things that we can do and that we found work really well. We involve family members in decision-making processes. And we do include spouses, we do include fathers at time into a conversation on US workforce norms. We talk about benefits of education, and we really do a deep dive into explanation that having someone help you during the test is considered cheating, and that using someone else's words without giving them credit is it's not a sign of respect. In the United States, it is plagiarism. So there are just many really important components. And of course, we are at the end of the conversation, we usually ready with resources. Jason mentioned some of them, but mental health providers referrals are critical for a lot of our students. I know, and this is something that we are seeing, this is something that faculty members communicated, that it is at times difficult for clients, for students to reach out for mental health providers because they do not feel comfortable talking about it. So we just wanted to put it on your radar that connecting them with resettlement agencies in Sacramento would be wonderful. We do have links to healthcare, mental health care providers that do speak Dari, that do speak variety of different languages that our population speaks as well. So there are just a variety of resources. Once you identified what it is that a family or a student might be struggling with, we want to be ready with those resources, whether it's connection to DMV resources, whether it's connection to childcare providers that would help that female student navigate their educational component, whether it's digital literacy class. I know there is a wonderful computer literacy camp that is taking place right now in Los Rios, or financial coaching. So there are a variety of different resources that we want to keep in mind and have them ready when we talk to our clients. I want to dive into some questions in the chat, or if just ask if anybody if anybody is comfortable taking themselves off mute and sharing some of their concerns or what worked well for you.
In the meantime, we're grateful for Tom. It looks like he's put in the chat, and I can just read that for everyone to hear. From a reading and writing center perspective, what we sometimes find in students from the Middle East with rapidly improving English skills, who can write very well but organize their essays in a much more freewheeling manner than we're used to. Their ideas may branch out in unexpected ways throughout. The aim is to honor their play of ideas and still suggest ways to connect the ideas to a more American essay structure. So yeah, great. Thank you for your participation, and to everyone in the chat. It's been great to hear from everyone. And yeah, again, this is wonderful to hear of, being able to honor where they're coming from and supporting those differences, and also then kind of leading and guiding them in a way as well to kind of help them integrate, in different ways and the aspects done in the United States.
Wonderful. And I also see Riot, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, as a response to Tom, that in other disciplines we can change our assessments, for example, in favor of non-exam collaborative projects. This is actually a spectacular idea. We will talk a little bit more about that. Many of our training providers that we are working with, they also leaning towards changing the assessments, even possibly shifting away from some standardized testing, and instead doing more of a collaborative project, or not, instead of exam, doing more of an in-depth interview with clients, conversation. So I think this is also a really great point. Great. Just going through the chat to see if there's anything else. Jason, if you don't mind keeping an eye on the chat as well, that would be great. So we make sure we didn't miss anybody.
Yeah, and I don't know if we want to save this question till the end, or now I can answer it quickly. Liz asks, I love more advice on how to get such students into help with tutoring and other services. We do know of, at least at within the Los Rios College District, at ARC, there's what's called the Ellis Club. and I can just put the link in the chat. And this is a club that supports English learners and actually have mentors and those in the immigrant support services to help at the college itself. Not sure if other colleges have a similar program. I'm sure something similar, or I'm sure they can reach out to this club as well. Looks like Sacramento City College does as well. So again, yeah, these are services that the colleges themselves have to kind of provide those, support from students themselves. Those in the clubs are actually students that are from these different areas and are able to support those going through as well. So a wonderful, resource there.
Thank you so much, Jason. And later on today, when we share a little bit more of our strategies and the way we view refugee population, we'll also talk more about mentorship. We'll talk a little bit more about how we're utilizing mentorship for tutoring opportunities with our clients. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. If there are no other questions, then we can move to our next part of our presentation, where we want to share a little bit more on our view of refugee populations, that we truly view them as courageous individuals and not victims. So let me go ahead. And,
if I can interrupt real quick.
Yes,
there's a hand up. Eric has his hand up. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Olga. Go ahead.
Yeah, Eric Hurrah here, American River College. I just wanted to touch base on what was just mentioned about the support club at American River. That is Alice. It's English language learner immigrant support. And we do kind of like it was explained, it's basically peer support. So it's students who are immigrants and refugees themselves. They know the college and the services pretty well. Many of them actually work at the college also, and they can provide that kind of peer-to-peer support and help connect students with the services they need, because sometimes it's just an information gap. They need the help, but they don't know who to ask or maybe how to ask. And our student leaders are pretty good at helping them out with that. And we do have a chapter of Ellis at Cosumnes River College as well. So feel free to reach out to me or the folks at Cosumnes. I believe Joao Francisco runs the club over at Cosumnes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing. We have such huge respect and admiration for everything that the club does. It's a tremendous, tremendous support for so many of our clients. So thank you again for everything that you do. All right, and then, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and play another short video to highlight the model that we use when we work with refugee populations, truly focusing on their talents. If you can give me a thumbs up that you are able to hear the video, that would be great.
Artists channel experience into expression. It takes great courage to start over, to reach out, to open your heart, to share who you are with the world.
As a refugee, my biggest struggle is having the need to express and explain myself over and over. Art was one of the tools to show who I am.
Disruptors, guys that were going to do it their way and say the things that they believe, that inspired me the most.
Kama unakuja kuanza maisha ya sasa, inapaswa kuwa na kuraji.
If you want to do something that you love, you have to have the courage to fail.
I came to Canada in 1991. I was 7 years old. Having to learn a new language was almost like learning this code. I go sit on the side and I just write things that needed to come out. I think that's what helped me break all the walls down and finally be like, okay, maybe I do got something to say.
Nilikuwa pale Kongo, mimi nataka kufunda masomo ya kupenda. Ilikuwa mu 1990. Mimi natoka mimi na watoto yangu. No, pa kukimbia pale nilikuwa naona kama ni kifo. niliweka kitumaini yangu yote mpaka kwa uchoraji.
In the year 1994, my family was forced to move to America due to safety issues in Ukraine. Art and dance helped me cope with adjusting to a new culture. I wanted to be the greatest ballerina that there was.
In 2012, I did my first illustration to talk about what is happening in Syria. I was really suffocating, and it was kind of a way to breathe. I arrived in France in 2016.
Refugees and immigrants go through a lot. It's not my courage, you know, it's almost like their courage bouncing off of me.
I feel that refugee contributions bring so much to society.
Refugees are courageous, starting all over from zero. This is courage.
Art is courage to create, to connect, to heal, transcends backgrounds and borders. This World Refugee Day, we honor the courage.
Thank you so much, everybody. All right. At IRC, we truly believe that all of our clients, they are naturally resourceful, creative, and whole. So it really is a fundamental mindset of our coaching process and is the message that we communicate to all of the community partners. What it means for us is that our clients, our students have their own dreams, goals, answers, wisdom, experience, creative ideas to be successful. And by simply utilizing our program tools, our training, our coaching expertise and support, we help them grow and advance. Refugees are not victims, they truly lead, and we simply guide. So today we wanted to dive a little bit more into the workforce development strategies that we will share today with you, and in hopes that you might be able to utilize some of these tools as well. Before we do that, I just want to say that there are challenges that your students face after leaving college, and these strategies help us prepare them for career success. We want to dive a little bit into what work development process includes. Usually it is employment counseling, it is career readiness training that focuses on some soft skills, it is certification and credentials that are followed by job placements within the career field, and of course, accompanied by needed supportive services. So as a result of effective workforce development journey, new Americans are able to join the American workforce, and employers across the nation have an opportunity to fill those critical jobs with talented, dedicated, and very importantly, diverse employees. So we do rely on several main strategies that make workforce development process effective. And success story that we will focus on today is in medical sector, but it's important for me to highlight that really these techniques are truly universal, and you can utilize them within any sector, any career field that you are diving into. So workforce development is a cycle that traditionally starts with market research. Now, what could be more exciting than good old market research in an unstable economy during the pandemic? Just kidding. Many more things are more fulfilling and exciting in our line of work, but we do want to emphasize that it is critically important to begin with market research. It is our responsibility to know what are the emerging markets in Sacramento, what is the employment rates of the industry that your students are going into, possibly hourly wage. We do need to know whether there's a need in the community for that specific sectors, that specific profession, and so forth. So at this point, please allow me to introduce Sheba. Sheba is a medical doctor from Afghanistan who became clinical medical assistant through our program. She came to us in 2019, and around that time, According to Bureau of Labor and Labor Statistics, the growth in medical assistant field on the national level was expected to increase by 24%. So we also, around the same time, we discovered that around 18 million has been spent on major expansion projects in Sacramento area for Kaiser, Mercy, Sutter, and UC Davis. So to us, it meant that they will need personnel to operate. So, and of course now with pandemic, we know that the need for highly qualified healthcare professionals skyrocketed. Let me go ahead and shift it to Jason, who successfully works with a variety of different employers and community partners, and he will share what to do and how to find some of those opportunities.
Wonderful. So because of that wonderful market research that was conducted, of course, we saw the need within the medical sector as well as others. But at this point, we then wanted to reach out to different employers to see exactly what the need was and what specific talent and resources they were looking for. And in that, in that experience, we also then, as we reached out, wanted to advocate for those that we were working with, of course, specifically refugees. And we wanted, though, to relate this as well with the work that you are doing and within your networks, as it can also be beneficial to, in different scenarios, to be advocating for refugees with your colleagues or within the community. And so hoping that these strategies are also something that you can implement as you work with other individuals in your networks. And so really focusing on the needs of those that you're speaking with, really asking the right questions on what they're looking for. And for us in our circumstance, for an employer, they're of course wanting to add value to their company. They're looking for the right talent. And so we must sell them that we have what that takes. We have the individuals and the talents that they are looking for. And because of that, then we deliver that tailored pitch, or by asking those right questions, we're able to deliver what they need. And that really is the value add. The refugees we work with, as you've seen, and as Yana so wonderfully talked about, is they are so resourceful themselves and have talents and resources and experiences that they come with that can benefit so many different companies and organizations within our community. And so from here, we then also provide the supporting evidence. That can be done through sharing different success stories from the past of other refugees or individuals that we've worked with. It can also be done through referring candidates, qualified candidates and resumes, and I guess in our instance, to these employers that have these skills and have completed the trainings necessary for the work done. And so for Sheba's example, we saw that this was done as we initiated some contact with an HR director at a local health clinic. From there, discovering their needs of needing some bilingual medical assistance. So from there, we were able to refer a variety of different of resumes and candidates with bilingual skills. Of course, many of them of our clients are either bilingual or multilingual. And so then based on their hiring, the employer was then able to schedule interviews, and several clients were then offered a medical assistant position, Sheba being one of them that was hired. And so really we see that as we are able to advocate for refugees, really focus on the needs of the employer, or for you, the individuals or the community that you're advocating to, and then providing those resources, providing the tailored pitch and the evidence to show that they're able to complete the work needed. And so then moving on to the next slides of really focusing on the strengths of the refugee and those that we're working with, whether they're our students, our colleagues, they really have those strengths. And here we just want to highlight a few of them. And again, having statistics, some facts is a great thing to keep in your back pocket to share, when appropriate. It's a very impactful way to engage those that you're working with. those that you're sharing this information with, and to really be able to do that. And so we can see just a few examples I wanted to highlight, how 13% of refugees are entrepreneurs, higher than any other immigrant or US born population. And so we see here they're very driven. Refugees are also resilient. In sectors such as manufacturing, turnover rates are 66% lower with refugee employees. And so you can just see that these are very powerful statements, bringing in those statistics. As well, maybe another way you could relate this to your work is within your own programs or departments, identifying your skills that your program has. And so for workforce development, what we've seen is that our clients, specifically CNA clients, have experienced a 90% placement rate after program completion. We also have seen across the board clients in our program have an average salary increase of 144%. And so really just by using these strong facts and statistics from our programs, and you can similarly be able to provide that to show that of the value that we're able to provide to the employer or to whoever we're corresponding with. And so in Sheba's story, we see that she had successfully completed this CMA medical assistant program and was hired by the local clinic. Because she had so many of these strengths and talents, she was driven and committed to her high quality of service. Just after a few weeks of working, she was promoted on the team to lead a COVID-19 drive-through. And so the employer actually communicated back to us that she brings an in-depth knowledge within the medical field, expertise from her background that she had of 4 years experience being an MD, and that they were very confident that she'd remain with the organization, and so trusted her in providing this promotion to her. And so this is an example of really being able to showcase those strengths. And then, the client here really being able to showcase that in the work, and that showed through her promotion and work that she's completed. And moving then on to different engagement methods. This is a way, and depending, I guess, on relating it with you folks, of it can take a variety of different ways, but maybe those working as academic advisors or in career education, career services, this may be something to take note of well, is there's a variety of different ways to engage different partners and those that we work with. A few innovative ways that we've seen be successful is through different networks that we have of partnering with local communities, with even the county, to host different job talks and learn of different employers and their needs. A great one as well we see is checking in with past clients. This is a great one to really leverage the clients that we've had in the past, and from their insight and perspective, knowing what their companies are looking for and the talents and needs that they see there. Another great one is seeking out employers to build curriculum with. This can be done in the college environment as well, as we really try to utilize the current trends and the current situations that are affecting the workforce, and how we can implement that in our education and in our training, whether that's in the classroom or in career education, career services, really being able to help tailor the message given to students and those that you're working with. And so in Sheba's case, she was assisting with putting together different job fairs for her current employer. This is another way of engagement, traditionally to attend different job fairs. And so with her being in touch with our staff, we were able to learn about the employee needs from her attending these and knowing about these job fairs. And so just having that insight really was useful and helpful to be able to provide what the employers were looking for in these different circumstances. So I'll then now pass that back to Yana to continue talking about the different strategies we continue to use.
Thank you so much, Jason. we also strongly believe in building and utilizing a network of volunteers and mentors with connections in the community. Now, Los Rios faculty are subject matter experts and have relationships with professionals in a variety of fields. For example, we had a great presentation regarding registered nursing program, and I know that professors do have connections with different hospitals and so forth to help our students progress and become successful. We do maintain relationship with a variety of different experts in the field, so we can utilize their industry expertise. We do have mentors in the field of civil engineering, healthcare, IT, finance professionals who truly understand the industry from within and can help us connect with employers, share hiring needs of employers, and make that initial, what we call warm connection, very effective. And at the same time, I know there was a question about tutoring. We do utilize our mentors for tutoring, study session purposes. We also rely on their support to help polish resumes, cover letters, to really have them stand out among others. And of course, we have them assist with industry-specific interview preparation. It is important when you're working with volunteers and mentors to keep that relationship ongoing. It's a two-way street. As Jason mentioned, connecting with previously placed students and clients is critical. So here we bring our successfully placed students back as professional mentors, peer mentors, we call them, and use already established rapports and connections to refer clients that we are currently working with. So in Los Rios context, it could look like former graduates would make spectacular mentors, and I'm sure some of you already utilizing that. Now, in terms of Sheba's journey, she was initially connected to Career Pathways professional mentor, who is a local medical doctor and was able to help her polish her resume and prepare for an interview. Currently, Sheba herself is a professional mentor, supporting our programs, helping guide medical students through training, and is able to provide that spectacular expertise in the native language of our clients. Quite often they have mentor sessions together. Sometimes it's a small group. It's really critical to have a native language component here to make the journey successful. And the next slide that I want to move to, the importance of follow-up and the feedback loop, what we call. Now, we know that this particular information might be more helpful to academic and career counselors at Los Rios. These are important steps to follow up with employers, obtaining feedback so we can understand how to better prepare our students for their career journey. Now, I want to highlight and kind of pause here that we work with the most vulnerable populations, and mistakes do happen. Classes can be dropped in the middle of the semester. Retention might be lower in certain career tracks. Client might be experiencing personal issues and maybe did not reach out to their professor on time. I want to highlight that we do want to make sure to give yourself permission to recognize that. Give yourself room to make mistakes and learn from them. If you are a career counselor and you had an ineffective session with a student, or if you are a faculty member and you experience students being absent or distracted or possibly falling behind, please give yourself permission to step back, to allow room for mistakes and creativity, and possibly adjust some of your coaching techniques based on the knowledge and understanding of the population that you are working with. We know that failures and mistakes are needed for growth and innovation. I do want to share that Sheba is now a supervisor of a mobile unit at Elika Health Center and is assisting current IRC students with professional job placements. She also connecting with us on a regular basis regarding upcoming needs of her organization. She sets up interviews and follows up with us as well. So not only we were able to make the hiring process efficient, but we are now able to receive that valuable direct feedback from an employer and support our clients more effectively. It is, let me just double check for 1 second. I hope, thank you, Jason. It is my pleasure to introduce Sheba. She is coming to us to share some of her experiences literally from the front lines of this pandemic. She is currently supervising COVID-19 drive-through in her clinic. So Sheba, if you are able to take yourself off mute and join us, that would be wonderful.
Hi, Yana.
Hi,
Can
Sheba.
you hear me well?
Yes, we
Hi.
can hear you.
I'm sitting in my car because for the past 2-3 weeks, it has been crazy with work. I cannot join in from inside. Hi, everyone. I'm Sheba. Thank you, Anna, for all those kind words. We're just trying to survive this pandemic as much as we can. Hopefully it gets over soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sheba, so we wanted to, if you don't mind, maybe sharing some of your, and I can go right into our slides so you can see the overview. So some of the questions that we spoke about, some of the barriers that you faced when you arrived, what were the most challenging things for you to overcome?
I think everyone knows how hard it is to move to a new country as a refugee or an asylee or as an immigrant. No matter which case you have, moving to a new country, restarting life from the scratch, it's always challenging for everyone. But I particularly believe now, being in here for over 5 years, it's very hard when you have a medical background and you move to the US. I wish I knew this before moving here. It was when I first moved, it was challenging, it was hard. I wanted to work in medical field to be able to get into medical field, but moving to the US, you cannot even get a job in medical field having hands-on experience, direct contact with patients, unless you have some kind of certification. And the certification is even small certificates that you would think would be offered free costs a lot here. You would have to go through schooling, get those certificates to be able to do a job. It doesn't matter if you have been a doctor in your home country, if you have had 10, 20, 30 years of experience, you would have to do everything all over again. When I first moved here, one of my biggest challenges were I moved in as an asylum seeker. So first of all, I would have to wait for my asylum case to get processed and approved, which took so many years. In that time, in order to be able to work in medical field, I needed certifications. And for that, I would need to go to a school to get certified. And moving here, first of all, anyone, no matter having family, not family, you would have to bring a stability to your situation to be able to get through the programs and do the certification. So I had to start a job to bring stability to my situation, not go after certifications. And once I got my asylum approval, I got the information for resources that I could have now that I am an approved asylee through the US immigration system. One of the resources was the IRC, which I walked in right on my way because IRC office in Sacramento was close to the place that I worked as a medical biller at that time. I walked in and I remember seeing you and talking to you about the programs that IRC offers as resources. And that's when it started. I believe it was back in 2019 because I got my asylum approval in 2019. And you guide me through I did mention that I need certification to have my hands-on experience, to be able to work in medical field, to be able to take my boards, or to be able to do any other programs like physician assistant or nurse practitioner or anything that you would need to do in here. You need hands-on experience to be able to apply to the schools. You are very nice to help me, guide me through the process of the scholarships and the resources that IRC offers to refugees, asylees, SIVs, and many other options of displacement people to the States. I remember you said the program for the certification for MA starts in a week, and you don't think that it will be possible to do all the paperwork and get approved and then get into the program because it was a summer program, I believe, and I was working full-time at that time. But we made it possible. I did my paperwork part of processing. You went through it. I got an interview with Hannah. I believe at that time she was IRC's director. When I went to her office and I talked to her about why do I need the scholarship to get certified to work in medical field, she was like, yeah, I do think this program and this scholarship is for people like you, and I believe you would get back to what you're gonna get from us. I got this scholarship, I got into the program, I got my certification, I got so many good connections. You connected me with Dr. Kim, which I still am in contact. She became a very dear friend of mine. After I did the program, I got connected with Alaka Health Centers, which I was hired immediately as a certified medical assistant. But within a short period of time of my hiring, they offered me the position for mobile medicine supervisor, which was a huge step, and I'm loving it. I get to do what I love to do, serve the community, particularly with the mobile units, since we are going out in the community. We are not waiting for people to come to the clinics. It's giving me the opportunity to serve those populations, particularly refugees and immigrants, no matter which community we go to, either to the consulates or to the masjids or to churches. Those are mostly refugees, immigrants, and migrants who are not going to the clinics to get the services they need. So this is giving me a sense of accomplishment to be able to do something for the people that would not have access to the care that they need if we do not have these services. And from there, I remember when I got hired and I became the supervisor for mobile medicine, I contacted you back asking, what can I do for the program? Because I want to give back for the opportunity that was provided to me. You did say, well, you can come back as a professional mentor, which I did. And I have been, since then, I have been in contact with IRC clients through the job placement, through helping them with their program material if they are having, if they are struggling, guiding them through the process of what would be what does medicine means in long run for them, because some of these individuals, they have medical backgrounds. Particularly, I have been in contact with these two amazing doctors lately, which they have years and years of experience as surgeons, but here they need certifications and they need to go through the credentialing system of U.S. medical licensing to be able to work in medical field. That they have to start from somewhere. And for me, since now I have the connections with the professional mentors through IRC, with these amazing doctors who guide me through the process to be able to have my credentialing, hopefully one day. I have the privilege of being able to share those information with the people that I am in contact with as a professional mentor. So being able to be in contact with IRC and getting to do all these amazing things that I wouldn't have been able to do unless I was certified to be able to get hired, because in order to get hired, the employers, they do not care if you're a doctor or not, if you have experience or not. They just need to know if you have been certified in the US. And as
Shiba,
you were, yes.
thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to highlight how skillfully and masterfully you highlighted pretty much every obstacle, every barrier, and also let us know what can be done to make it a little bit easier. So, the connections to mentors are critical for us. The resources are critical. The sponsorships for programs, whether it is through Los Rios. I also wanted to mention that Shiba is a current student of Los Rios Community College and is going forward towards her long-term goal, whether it's RN or I know physician assistant was one of them as well. You also highlighted the importance of having connections with employers, and then also giving back once you are there, giving back to the community and helping others, tutoring other students, providing that support. There are a few questions, Shiba. We have about, I want to say a little over 10 minutes. There are some questions from the faculty. There are some questions that we have written before. Jason, I want to hand it over to you since you're keeping an eye on the chat. What are the questions that are coming in for Shiba, or should I just go with some general ones that we had before?
There are not yet, at least, any questions for Shiba. If anyone does have questions, feel free to take yourself off mute or put them in the chat. There was a question earlier on if the slides will be presented, and maybe Olga, of course, yeah, we can provide those to you, and then you can distribute that further. I know this is also being recorded, so those can be distributed. But yes, if any other questions are posed, please put them in the chat. But yeah, maybe Yana, we can start with a question.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shiba, from your perspective, and I know you highlighted some of the steps that can be taken to assist refugees to succeed in their education, but we want to kind of move it a little bit more to Los Rios side and ask you how to make classroom college experience more welcoming for refugees. From your perspective, what worked well, what didn't?
For refugees, particularly, the majority of the refugees moving to the state, particularly in Sacramento, that I have been in contact, they are, the majority of them have families and kids. One of the hurdles that they have in common, the majority of them, is not having childcare when they go to college, and that's something that's holding so many people behind from even starting to go to community college, and it's causing for the ones that go to community colleges to and they have started community colleges, it's causing them to drop their classes because of the not having the childcare support. It's a huge problem. I see it daily. I have been volunteering for all these organizations who help these refugees, immigrants, and migrants to Sacramento, particularly SIV and newly parolees from Afghanistan. The majority of them have this common problem of not having childcare for their kids to be to go to college, and since we are from a patriarchal society, and when it comes to that, mostly the male from the family works and provides, and when when he works and provides, the woman has to stay at home and take care of the kids, and that causes for both of them to not be able to go through college or get the education that they need to bring a long-term stability to their life, because they don't have the support of the family who would normally take care of the kid if they were back home. Besides that, I do believe professional mentoring and cultural advisory would be helpful for families, because from the background that we come from, the majority of us do not have that drive of getting the education to have the and the financial independence, or even if it's not financial independence, being educated and being enough for yourself. Particularly for women, they were always taught to staying at home and raising kids is enough for them, which I wouldn't disagree. I think being a mother is the more than a full-time job, but at the same time, I do think if both the woman and the man in the family, if they have the education and if they have the knowledge, it will help their kids in the long run in here to get educated. And for that, they do need support. They need childcare. They need people who would understand them. They need cultural advisors who speak their own language and who can advocate for them, who can educate them about the importance of having an education in a country like America, and how critical it is to be educated for their kids, to help them when they are going through the school, because the majority of these families, they have young kids who would go to a school, and if the parents are not educated, and if the parents cannot communicate in English, if the parents are unable to help their kids would struggle in school. So if we work on having a system to have childcare available for the families who would want to go to school, and cultural advisors who would help them guide through the process, that would be a first step to start the process.
Thank you so much, Shiba. This is very relevant to all of us as community partners, as Los Rios faculties, academic advisors, and so forth. So thank you so much for finding the time. I know you have to dive right back into your incredibly busy schedule, so we really appreciate you joining us today. Best of luck to you, Shiba. Thank you,
Anna.
And we wanted to thank everybody today for your participation, your engagement. We hope that this was helpful for you. There's some useful tips that you've learned. So I know a lot of you have another appointment or meeting or presentation coming up soon. So we wanted to give you some time to transition. Unless there are some questions, thank you so much for this opportunity.